Hi and thanks very much for joining me. I'm Dean the Vaping Biker. Today we're going to be looking at a new RDA, well, newish RDA. There's still quite a few reviews out there for it already. But this one, I did want it to be more than it actually is, sadly. But we're going to be looking at the Springer X from Tiger Tech. We'll go and check this out in the up close tour first before we come back up and I'll tell you my thoughts. Let's do that. Come on then. Alrighty then, so here we are with the Tiger Tech packaging for the Springer X. Nothing massive to see there. You've got some contact information on that side of the band, safety marks and all that sort of stuff on that side, along with the scratch and sniff down at the base of the box, and a little bit more to tell you what colour you've got in the box itself. If we take that off like so, you can unscrew the base, and this is the RDA, which we'll come to in a moment, but just having a little look and seeing what else is in this packaging. You do have an extra drip tip going on here, which once again we'll look at shortly, and then in the packaging itself you do get some extra springs, post screws, and I think that's the negative screw as well, I'm not entirely sure, but and an Allen key as well. The Allen key is necessary so you can actually take the springs out if needs be. Certainly not something I've had to worry about. And then you do also get a couple of Claptons. They look like dual core Claptons going on to me, that you can use if you so want to. But moving all that stuff aside for one moment, let's have a little look at the RDA and we'll have a little bit of a zoom in. So this is the RDA in all its gorgeousness. This is quite a tall RDA. We can't get away from that. It's about 42.5mm with this drip tip in, and you know, so it's a fair old tall beastie for a 24mm atomizer. But when you see the size of the juice well, you'll understand why. But looking around the top of it with this particular drip tip on it, I mean, that is a super wide bore. You see the posts under there, and then when we go past that, we've got some little grips along the top there which can help when adjusting the airflow control, and then obviously we move down to quite generous airflow holes either side, and then we've got the Springer logo on one side of the barrel, very heavily engraved. That's quite rough, you'll feel that when you if you were to get one. Nothing on the other side of that, and then underneath we do have quite the protruding 510, which is nice to see, as well as a little bit more information, Springer X RDA, and then Tiger Tech at the bottom there. So you can see that we've got a few bits and bobs along with the website right at the base there. Now these screws, if I show you the black one for a moment, you might be able to see that those screws look a little bit worse for wear, because these screws are in tight, and I mean super tight. So when I've been taking this apart to see how it's all constructed and all that sort of good stuff, these were absolute bastards to get off. Now this is a gold plated 510. I imagine it's gold plated stainless. I don't know, I haven't seen anywhere that says that it's anything else. But when we look at the RDA itself, like I say, with this drip tip you can take this off, although the easiest route is to be able to take the top cap off completely and then poke a bit of this drip tip through just to get a little bit of a purchase, and then take it out. This, while it does look super wide, it's actually just a goon sized drip tip, so I'm not really sure why they've gone hell for leather with this super wide cap going on here, but it is a thing, and obviously the groove in there means that this kind of area sits on top. If you don't want to use that, you can use the other one that is supplied, which is just a straightforward black drip tip. Now it kind of doesn't really fit very well in as much as it overhangs that shoulder a little bit, but you know, that's it just, if they'd have trimmed this back by like a mil, that would look quite cool, I think. But it is what it is, so no biggie. And I would say that this is a very dry O-ring on here, so that's probably why it's not sitting desperately flat, and you can see a little bit of space between there. Now when it comes to the airflow control, this is exactly what, or very similar to what I'd suggested that they did with the Vaporous, that the Tofo did with the Vaporous, because this allows you to go full bore airflow, or you can cut it down on the widthwise, and then you can really tune in your vape, and you still get the option of a single coil if you so wish, which I think is quite cool. And then looking at this, it means that when it's installed, obviously you've got these two dirty grey holes either side if you want them, or you can give this a little bit of a twist, and there you've got the same sort of size hole but widthwise, but you are restricting the height, and then obviously you can restrict that even more, and that would have been brilliant on the Daedalus. No, not Daedalus. Vaporous. But we do have a bit of an issue here that we have seen with the was it the Goon, whereas if I try and close this down too much, you can see that one of the other air holes is opening. Now obviously that's not going to be the same on that side, but on this one you're not that's as closed as you're going to be able to get it. That's absolutely it. And when we look on the other side, there we go. Now if we go to close this one down like so, we're still getting a little bit open on that one. So there's only so far you're going to be able to close it down, and it's not far off that kind of space right about there, which is a very restricted lung hit. And you know, this isn't a mouth to lung tank, so you can't expect it to do a great deal more than that. But yeah, I mean, that's about as closed as you're going to get it. Now then, let's have a little look at the deck. Actually, before we do the deck, we will have a brief just look on the underside of this cap. It is nicely domed under there, which does help with flavour, in my opinion. So that's quite nice to see. The barrel itself, I haven't actually cleaned this one out because I haven't been using it. I've been using the black one, but it's just a straightforward barrel. There's nothing to see there, but it could do with a darn good clean. Like I said, this is how it came to me, and I've not used this one at all. So yeah, it looks a little bit manky, to be fair. I'm not going to lie, but when we're looking at the deck, now this is where things get a little bit interesting. Now obviously the first thing that we see is these posts, which we can discuss shortly, but the depth of this juice well is absolutely massive. I think it's about a 9mm juice well. They reckon that you can hold about 2 millilitres of juice in this juice well, as long as you've got plenty of cotton in there, obviously, and I can quite believe that, because you really can pack it in and hold a lot of juice, which is very, very nice, and it does contribute to that overall height, obviously. Now then, when it comes to the posts themselves, they are spring loaded, but they take a lot of pressure. My right hand being a little bit weaker than my left at the moment, because it is a little bit ropey, as regular viewers will know. I can't squeeze that down any more than that. That's it. My left hand, I can squeeze it down, which is fine and dandy, but with the right one, I certainly cannot. So those people that are interested in something like this, because they have motor issues with their fingers, this is not going to be for you. I cannot stress that enough. Now then, the other thing to be aware of, if we can have a little look at this this particular post. Now if I zoom in a little bit, hopefully we'll stay in focus. So what we've got here, obviously we are pressing this top piece down, and we've got these holes. We've got one here, one here, one here, and one here. So if I squeeze that down, you can see all 4 of these holes. Now then, you can see I'm starting to shake there, because it is quite the amount of pressure you've got to put on there. Now then, first of all, you can see that this hole is lower down than this hole. So when you bring these up, if you're going to use just those top holes, then this one is closing at a quicker rate than this one. You can see that? So when you actually fully extended, there's still a little bit of a gap in this hole, whilst this one is fully closed up. If you can imagine your coil kind of underneath that, I pop that there, and you imagine your coil going under there, you can still see there's quite a significant gap on this post. So that's going to make it quite awkward when it comes to some of the builds that you put in here. Now if you squeeze it all the way down, obviously you can use these holes at the bottom here, which you can certainly do it, but to be fair, you're a stronger person than I if you can fit 2 coils in there, which is just a huge shame, because you can see that those holes get closed up at the same time. Now I've tried to put single round wire builds in here just using those bottom holes, and whilst I did manage it after a lot of swearing and carrying on, it was just an absolute bloody nightmare, to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie. So what this means is installing a single coil is very, very easy. It's very, very easy to get your wires captured and all that sort of good stuff, so that's fine. And obviously you can pop one of these down at a time to be able to make that happen. But when you're installing dual cores or dual coils, because you've got these things stopping at different levels, you've got to try and get both of your wicks into, or both of your coil legs into either that hole or that hole. You can't really use that one and that one, so that one for the coil on this side and that one for the coil on the other side. That can't really happen, so you've got to try and use both legs into the same hole, which is just a little bit of a pain in the arse, in all honesty. But that being said, what we'll do is we will stick a build into this black one right here that that I've just cleaned up, and we can then go upstairs and have a vape. But also something just to be aware of, if you do manage to undo these because you don't want to take them out for cleaning or anything like that, then you do have to take the negative post off first before you can get access to the positive post. Like I said, those screws are crazy tight, and if you do need to change out the springs, that little Allen key I showed you in the spares pack goes into here. Now I've not done that purely because like I say, I have trouble pushing these down at the best of times, so I'm certainly not going to make an effort and have springs pinging all over the place. You can see that I've still got quite the indent in my finger from holding that one down. Anyway, let's get a build in here now and we can go up and have a vape. So that was the up close of the Tiger Tech. Now I have built the this black one here, as you can see, and I'll probably give the stainless one away at some point in time. But now let me just show you the coil that I put in here. I'll just pop a little picture of that up right now. And I managed to dual coil it, as you can see, but it was the biggest pain in the dick on the planet. It really was. And it has been the whole time that I've been trying to use this RDA. To try and get all four legs caught and a solid catching as well, particularly if you're using a straightforward round wire build, has been just the bane of my life. What I did with this one in the end was I used the two bottom holes of the bottom post, so the two small round holes, just so I could get these in. And like I said, you can't utilize different holes and stuff in here. You have to stack your wires on top of each other, whichever holes you are going to use, which in my mind makes it pointless to have that many holes available. So that to me is quite saddening. Secondly is the tension on these springs is an absolute nightmare. It is just too tight. I had really hoped that this was going to be an RDA that I could use, particularly with my sort of dodgy hand these days, and I thought it was going to be something I could present to people that if you've got sort of grip issues or you don't like using your screwdrivers and all that sort of stuff, then this was going to be an easy way of coiling. Sadly, that's not the case. It's just not something I can do, unfortunately. I mean, I've said it before and I will say it again, if you can. I mean, I got these kind of hex key screwdrivers with a big old handle. That's my 1.5, and this is a Wira 1.2. This is VWINRC. I don't know if that's a real make or a thing, but that's the one that I use on that one, and these are the guys that I use on that one. And you can find them on eBay or on Amazon, all that sort of stuff. I've had mine for ages and they just help massively, as well as a regular size screwdriver or the Coil Master screwdrivers for a lot of other RDAs. Anyway, getting back to this one, I had really hoped that with those sprung posts, then it would certainly help things out. Sadly, as I said, that isn't the case. Now, this isn't a sort of a new concept, isn't a new idea that to have sprung posts. I think it was 2013, 2014, something like that. Cloudpaw actually did an RDA. I think it was called the Towers, something like that, and that had kind of the first incarnation that I'd seen of having sprung posts, and it didn't really take off. I don't think there was a great deal of tension there, and there was issues trying to grasp the wire or something. I can't quite remember, but no, it has been tried, and it has been tried a couple of times since, and I'm yet to see it working properly, to be honest with you, which is a bit saddening. So it does mean that if you do want to pop a single coil in here, you can by all means, and you can certainly get a pretty darn reasonable vape on this with a single coil. I mean, if you do close that airflow down so it is purely single coil airflow, it is a pretty darn restricted, so you are really kind of, you know, it's not quite the sort of the airy draw you would hope from an RDA of this size. Now I've got both air holes fully open, and like I said, I have got these dual coils in here, the ones that were in that picture, and yeah, they could do with being a little bit higher, to be honest with you. I tend to like this with the coils not far off the top of the posts when it comes to height wise. But anyway, let's have a little toot, shall we? They came through at 0.23, and this is 77.7 watts on the Minikin V2. No, it clearly does a fine job. I mean, when it comes to, you know, once you've got your coils in and you're built, I'm just going to put some more juice on here. I'm using Cerberus from Darkstar, if anyone's interested. You know, once your coils are in, you can get a pretty decent vape, and you know that's a good thing. The fact that you've got such a deep juice well, another good thing. The fact that it's very affordable. It's coming through at around about the $29 mark. It is available. Well, it is £23.63 on GearBest at the moment, and I think I saw it for about $29 on an American site as well. But a little bit of Google Foo and you will find it, but to me it's just gently missing the mark, which is such a shame. If they'd have got those 2 posts and just had 2 holes in them and gone, away you go, then that would have been good. Or if I don't know, I mean, even then the strength in those springs is just too much in my opinion, but it has to be there in order to try and give enough sort of pressure onto the legs of your coils so it doesn't kind of wobble around on resistance and all that sort of stuff. So it is a bit of a shame. Unfortunately, it's a bit of a hit and a miss. I thought it was going to be something that I was going to be able to really get excited about for the part of the community that isn't, you know, quite as able as others, but unfortunately not. That's not the case. Single coil, even the airflow on single coil is a bit iffy, but yeah, this doesn't get a thumbs up from me, sadly, but go and check out all the other reviews. I'm sure people will have differing opinions, but yeah, for me it's not really working out big beans. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Dean the Vaping Biker. I'll pop a little subscription thing down here, and this will probably get published while I'm away, so there may or may not be videos there and there. We'll see. Anyway, have it large.